He was slow, pretty unathletic, and often had a dad bod. Joe Thornton is the exact opposite of what you'd expect from an NHL star. Seriously. While players like Connor McDavid can skate damn near 25 miles an hour, Thornton skated like he had bricks in his boots. Yet he still racked up over 1,500 points, led the league in assists twice, won both the Art Ross and Hart Trophy, and was named an All-Star 6 times. So how did this slow, unathletic forward dominate for 2 decades? Simply put, it all came down to his absurd hockey IQ. Seeing plays unfold before anyone else and dishing passes so precise he didn't even need to look. But Thornton wasn't always the legend we know today. So let's rewind back to July 2nd, 1979, when the Thornton family welcomed a baby boy named Joe in London, Ontario. Not long after, they settled in the nearby town of St. Thomas, a quiet community of about 35,000 people. It was there, on the outdoor rinks and neighborhood ponds, that little Joe first fell in love with hockey. Not through elite training camps or private coaches, but by playing endlessly with friends and family, learning the game the old school way. Because of his frame, Thornton was usually the biggest kid on the ice, naturally slotted in as a power forward, but there was something different about him. Unlike most big boys who crashed the net or played the body, Joe had a rare gift: vision. He could read the game like a veteran, making plays most kids wouldn't even think to try. In fact, his coaches often let him run the offense, rarely as a shooter, but typically as a playmaker. Even as a Timbit, Joe wasn't only trying to score. He was trying to make everyone around him better. As now Jumbo Joe entered his teenage years, he became obsessed with the NHL, watching games, studying star players, and dreaming of one day leaving small-town St. Thomas to make it big. That dream didn't seem so far-fetched for long. Scouts from the OHL began to take notice of the towering center with filthy hands and hockey sense well beyond his age. By 16, Joe got his shot, moving north to join the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, a major step up and the first real sign that his quiet dominance might one day lead to something special. In a sport that worships speed, Thornton played like time didn't apply to him. Where others chased the game, he studied it, broke it down and controlled it. He was hockey's version of a veteran chess player, slow, calculated, and nearly impossible to stop. Thornton soon became a star with the Greyhounds, and by age 17, he was putting up video game numbers. 122 points in just 59 games. Scouts weren't just interested, they were obsessed. He was 6'4", had gross hands, and saw passing lanes nobody else did. He wasn't explosive, but he didn't need to be. He thought the game faster than anyone else. In 1997, the Boston Bruins made Thornton the #1 overall pick in the NHL draft, ahead of players like Patrick Marleau, Marian Hossa, and Roberto Luongo. And yet, his rookie season was pretty brutal. He played in 55 games, scored 3 goals, and tallied just 7 points. Some nights, he straight up rode pine. Boston fans panicked. The media doubted him. Was this towering Canadian kid just another overhyped bust? Behind the scenes, though, the Bruins saw something else. Thornton wasn't failing. He was learning and adjusting, figuring out how he could play at his own pace at the professional level. By his 6th season, Thornton had blossomed into Boston's best player. In 02-03, he exploded for 68 assists and 101 points, becoming the first Bruin to hit 100 points since Adam Oates a decade earlier. At just 23, he was named team captain, one of the youngest in the league. And while he wasn't a rah-rah guy or a blood-and-guts brawler, he led with poise and intelligence. Still, Boston was inconsistent. Thornton racked up points in the regular season, but the Bruins failed to go deep in the playoffs. And in 2004, after a rough postseason showing, the narrative turned harsh. Thornton disappears when it matters. In one of the most shocking moves in modern NHL history, they traded him. On November 30th, 2005, the Bruins sent Joe Thornton to the San Jose Sharks for Marco Sturm, Brad Stewart, and Wayne Primo. It was, in hindsight, one of the worst trades in NHL history. Thornton, freed from the pressure cooker of Boston, immediately erupted. In just 58 games with the Sharks, he put up 92 points. His season total, 125 points, the most by any NHL player that year. He won the Art Ross Trophy as the league's leading scorer. He won the Hart Trophy as league MVP. And he became the only player in NHL history to win both after being traded mid-season. Boston, meanwhile, didn't even make the playoffs. Jumbo Joe didn't just put up points. He completely changed the way a player could control a hockey game. Most playmakers work from the perimeter. Thornton set up shop behind the net, or Gretzky's office, and turned it into his personal command center. He'd shield the puck with his huge frame, wait until the D-men turned their heads, then thread a pass through a microscopic window. He had an uncanny ability to draw in defenders, freeze tendies, and slip no-look passes to wide-open teammates. He once had a season where he scored just 22 goals and still finished top 2 in league scoring because he had 92 helpers. That's how absurd his playmaking was. Not to mention the only player who outscored him that year was prime Sid. But his vision wasn't just instinctual, it was engineered. Thornton watched tape religiously. He studied defensive patterns. He timed passes based on how defenders turned their skates or how goalies adjusted their depth. To him, the puck was a tool, and he used it like few others ever had. So how good was he? We'll let the numbers do the talking. 1,714 games, 6th most all-time. 1,109 assists, 7th all-time. 1,539 career points, 14th all-time. 6 All-Star appearances, an Olympic gold medal in 2010, World Cup gold in 2004, and a 2-time NHL assists leader. And he did all this while skating like a Zamboni. Thornton wasn't your typical superstar. He wasn't loud in interviews, and he didn't crave the spotlight. Off the ice, he was known for being lighthearted, quick with a joke, always smiling, and famously laid back. On the ice, he didn't care about personal stats or goal totals. His joy came from setting up teammates, making the perfect pass, and seeing others succeed. In his own words, an assist makes 2 people happy. A goal only makes 1. That philosophy defined his career. Thornton could have chased more goals, but instead he chased what most coaches hate, the perfect play. Because for Jumbo Joe, hockey was never really about glory. It was about connection. That selflessness was also his weakness in the eyes of some. Thornton took heat from San Jose's playoff failures, despite often being their best player. He played through cracked ribs, torn ligaments, and in 2018 a torn ACL and MCL in his knee. Then came back 5 months later like nothing happened. Kinda like Ovi tucking 44 times after breaking his leg this year. By the 2010s, Thornton had become a cult figure, thanks in large part to his legendary beard, which made him look more like a Viking fisherman than an NHL player. But under the beard was a hockey mind as sharp as ever. In 2016, at age 36, Thornton finished 4th in team scoring and helped lead San Jose to the Stanley Cup final, alongside Pavelski, Marleau, and Burns, their first in franchise history. Though they fell short, it was a moment of validation. Thornton wasn't just a great player, he was a foundational piece, a culture builder, and a franchise icon, no matter where he played. He continued playing into his 40s, taking short stints with the Maple Leafs and Panthers, chasing that elusive Stanley Cup, the one thing missing from his resume. Joe Thornton retired in 2023, 26 years after being drafted. He played in 4 different decades, spanned the pre- and post-lockout NHL eras, and adapted as the game changed, without ever losing his identity. Was he the best skater? Not even close. Did he have the best shot? Nah. Did he win a cup? Sadly, no. But did he make everyone around him better? Always. Did he see the game like few ever could? Without question. Was he one of the smartest, most unselfish superstars to ever play? Absolutely. In a league that glorifies speed, flash, and raw talent, Joe Thornton stood out by doing the opposite. He wasn't the most athletic guy on the ice. He never had to be, because while others sprinted, Thornton saw the whole sheet, like a chessboard, and just moved the pieces. He made the game simpler, smarter, and better. And whether or not he ever won a Stanley Cup, one thing is undeniable. Joe Thornton didn't just play hockey, he mastered it.